Hi guys, welcome back to Shop's Garage. We're straight back on it again after Davey's visit from Universal Scuffs yesterday, doing the corner of the bumper for me on the Viva. I can now get it valeted and up for sale. Before I do that, I'm going to get the paintwork done on the Hyundai i10. Before he left yesterday, I said he did have to leave a bit early because he was unwell. He shaped the rear arch for me on the Hyundai i10 and primered it so I could key it up this morning and spray it myself this morning, which is good. So I've scuffed up to the swage line up here. Got to obviously clean all this down first. So we'll blend the paint up on that swage line there and down there on the sill. It is going to be a different colour because we're not spraying into the door, so there's going to be a colour variation. There's no two ways about it because we're not blending into the door. Doesn't merit on a vehicle of this value. So we'll just have to risk it for a biscuit on that front. And on the front where the crack was, I've gone along, melted it together. You'll see there's a hole at that end. You always do that to stop it from the crack going any further later on. But the plastic's all been plastic welded together. I'm going to clean that off and then get some fiberglass filler in the gap to strengthen it. And then here, I'll try and keep a small repair area. It won't be as obvious colour difference wise because I can blend out to here and to here. I'm not going to be going panel to panel with that. It's worth doing on this because this is the one with the full service history, and otherwise the bodywork is immaculate. We do have an issue with an engine management light, which could be a catalytic converter. It could also just be a sensor. But to get top bucks for this with the full history, it's worth having the bodywork bang on, because that's someone's going to rock up and they're not really going to have anything to argue the toss on at all on it. So it's worth doing it on that. At the same time, we've got to get on with the 500 next door. So I put the door handle on the 500 yesterday. I didn't show you doing that, but there's plenty enough video showing you how to put door handles on Fiat 500s because they break so often. And I painted the section down here. It doesn't look great at the moment in this light because I know it's polished and there's a run there because I put my fade out thinner on too fast. So I always do a fade out thinner, so I've got to flat that back and probably paint this section again. But all the shaping and all that's done. I only need a couple of coats as it's already been done. It's amazing on camera. Don't know if that's a shadow of something over there. Almost looks like there's a line there, but there isn't in real life because the paint's up here. Weird. Does it change on the... Yes, it's the shadow of something over there. Right, yeah. So yeah, I've got to flat that back. I mean, if that flats back without going through the paint, then I could just buff the whole thing. It depends whether that goes back and I need to do it all again. But that's pretty much ready. Once that's done, this can go down for MOT, because other than that it just needs the seats cleaning, but there's no point doing that until it's gone down and had its MOT. And now I've got the wing on the Volvo to paint the edges of today. Hopefully I'll fit that in as well so I can get that on the car. Grab the all-important coffee mug when I'm at it. So yeah, lots on as always, getting everything prepped and ready. And we're going to drop the Suzuki Swift down to Phil at Moore's garage so that he can stick on the sticky Michelin Sports, Pilot Sports, for the track day coming up this Sunday that was delayed because due to lack of participants, I think, in January. So we're going to get those done and pick up the Ford Fiesta. If you remember the Batra purpley Ford Fiesta, which I've got a replacement seat for, because you're all right, I can't fit the one from the other Fiesta because that's a 4-door. So I've got the seat for that. He's going, because it had a 12-month MOT on it already, what I've got Phil doing is doing a safety check for me this morning. I'm just going to get him to double check their work because I'm going to be selling that car as is, wasn't I? I wasn't going to do a lot to it. But obviously it's still important to me that I can confidently say we've checked it over. So he's doing a safety check on that for me today. I'm going to pop the seat in it, clean the hell out of it and sell it with the dings. And if it doesn't shift, we will get around to doing the dings and sell it for the high price. No real interest in the Fabia at all, so it may end up being I do what you guys have suggested, wrap the roof and re-lacquer the bonnet to tidy it up, and then it'll be a nice car. But it seems that even with what probably nearly £800 saving against normal retail, people aren't interested because of the lack of bill. I thought, like some of you said, someone used it as a dog wagon, but there you go. Right, let's get cracking. So having scuffed up the area I need to do, first thing is to clean it down. Now you can get obviously panel wipe and that kind of stuff, which I don't have kicking around at the moment, but a good alternative is just some glass cleaner, something I learnt off of I think I've mentioned his channel before, Weird Beard, who's a painter, and he doesn't tend to use too many fancy products, and I saw him use this, and to be honest, I found it works absolutely fine. Works as well as panel wipe does anytime. The only thing is obviously it doesn't evaporate quite as quickly, so don't go painting straight away. I'm just using a microfiber here as well, which again probably wouldn't be the recommended. We can tack cloth this off afterwards. We're just going to give it a basic clean first and see where we are with the window cleaner. Obviously you've got to bear in mind when painting, even with a rattle can, if you leave areas like that with dirt in it, it will blow back onto your paint. So we need to pop the petrol cap here and clean in there. Now we could have masked the petrol cap off, but then if there'd been a colour mismatch, it would have shown straight away, because that would have been right bang in the middle of our repair. So we need to paint that as well. We need to make sure we get in the door shuts and make sure that we get all the dust, and this dust here could blow out from the seats and that. So just give it a quick wipe. So that's why I'm kind of using this cloth first as a bit of a sacrificial one to pick up a lot of the dirt, and then we'll go over it with something else afterwards. But we just want to avoid any of this blowing out while we're doing the work. Now, less of an issue with the rattle can as it would be if you're using a gun, because a gun's going to produce more pressure and throw stuff out a bit more, but still worthwhile doing, because you don't want your paint job ruined for the sake of a quick wipe down inside there. We'll mask the wheel over the wheel. Get down the inside of the door shut here as well. Now when I keyed up, I did key up the inside edge down here as well, because there will be a blow-in of some of the lacquering on that edge. So we want that to be there. I'll probably roll tape back on itself against the edge all the way along here. Now the reason for that is as the paint and the lacquer blows in here, it could leave quite a dry edge. You're almost better running the tape straight the way down the inside there and ending up with a bit of a hard edge down the side there. Most people wouldn't notice it, but it would be less noticeable than a dry edge where paint's just sort of blown in a little bit. By that what I mean is, as you're spraying, it blows into that gap there. It will leave you a dry edge where you're not leaving particularly wet paint. And when you open the door shut, you'll see that on the edge. To be honest, only if you went looking for it. You know, your average Joe isn't really going to notice it. Anyway, wipe all this down. And then I know it seems a bit of overkill with all the sheets and everywhere using rattle cans. And obviously yesterday, Davey was using a spray gun. So I wanted to do this to make sure there's no risk of any of the, he was using a 2K lacquer on a spray gun landing on top end of the cars, because that would be a nightmare to try and polish back out again. I will do it again, sheeting wise, because the sheeting's cheap and it's so labour intensive getting overspray off cars if you do get overspray on them. So I'd rather spend a few minutes sheeting the cars off. But if you're outside in your driveway and you've got another car parked a little further away, you're probably going to be alright with the wind blowing around. But if you do use 2K lacquer, which you shouldn't be doing unless you've got the proper breathing equipment, that can get everywhere, that stuff. So probably best parking your other car down the road, doing it on a driveway with nothing else there. So I've got to feather in some of this a little bit again. I can see some spots of the filler there. But yes, so we can see we're going to be blending up here in terms of blending the lacquer. So we're going to be colour to about here. And being a metallic, we'll need to dust it out quite far to blend it, and then the lacquer will be to here, and we'll roll our edge back on itself along this swage line here. David did give me some tips yesterday on that I could blend right on the edge of the line there. I don't know if I'm taking enough of a brave pill to do that today or not. I normally use myself a lot larger area. Right, so I say carry on cleaning that off. Before we go too far though, we're going to carry on and get the bumper sorted, because we're going to be sanding that, and we'll be throwing more dirt about when we sand that. And then when it comes to painting, I want to lay the two on straight away, because I'll have a small can of 1K that I want to go over both areas with straight away while it's ready mixed, rather than do that and then come round to doing that. So let's get cracking this. The first step after having melted it together is to take a razor blade to it and trim all this down where it's sticking out on the edge. You can almost pick it off with your finger to level it off again before we put any fiberglass filler in there. The reason for doing this rather than sanding it is that if I don't sand it, if I sand it, I'll end up taking the repair area right the way out here. If I do this and put very thin skim of filler on it, fiberglass filler, I will keep the repair area very small. So if I just run the razor blade along here and take the top edge off of where we melted it together, I will then, like I say, be able to keep the repair area quite small. And there we go, you can see that's all flush with the bodywork of the car. I might just run over it one more time, but it's pretty much flush with the bodywork of the car. I'll get some fiberglass filler in there now to strengthen that up. As I said, we put a hole in the end there to stop the crack going any further. If you don't do that, the crack will continue to go up. You've got to make sure the crack's finished off. So this is just, like I say, reducing the repair area quite a lot. So there's our fiberglass filler in there, and we'll wait for that to go off, come back, sand it down, then we might need a skim of plastic bumper filler as well. I just had a quick call from Phil with some good news on the Fiesta. We're going to do a full MOT on it rather than just a safety check, because he says a lot of it actually is a bit OTT. He's had a look at the bushes on the rear axle, and a lot of people thought potentially they were worn out and I was going to get a rear steer from the back of the car. And I said to people when I'm driving, I'm not feeling that at all. Phil says there's actually not any play in them at all, really. He said there's a little bit of cracking around the very edge of them. He said, but it's 100,000 mile car. He says there's no play in them, so it's not going to rear steer from that. So he thinks that was actually a bit unnecessary. He says the rear coil springs they mentioned were corroded. He says it's just the powder coating's come off, so that's not a biggie. And he said the same thing with the front sub, I think it was a subframe. He said again, it's just a powder coating, there's no rot, it's not rusted through, it's not got any serious surface rust or anything like that on it. So he said, to be honest, better off putting it through in the MOT. He said there's a couple of things they didn't mention, which will do. He said he's going to do another tyre, because it came with one really scuffed up tyre on this side, didn't it, which we were surprised past. So he replaced that. He said the other driver's one really needs replacing as well, so he's going to do that. He said he didn't know why they didn't mention that. And he said the link arms on both sides, said they're knocking a bit. He said I'd replace those at the same time. So we're going to do the tyre, the link arms, and put it back for an MOT. So it will come back with a a better MOT than before, and we'll know that it's completely safe and roadworthy and all that kind of stuff. So that's a bit of a positive. So it may well be that it is worth doing the repair on the arch, to be fair. We'll have to see when it comes back, but that might be another one I'll leave to Davey, because it is quite a complex metallic colour. Anyway, right, let's get cracking, stop talking and get this done. That's still got to go off to be sanded. So what it might be worth doing is going into the 500 and flatten that down. A lot of you told me off for working in the showroom, and you're right, I'm not supposed to be working in the showroom, but as you can see I'm spinning plates trying to get multiple cars done. If I didn't have the place full of my own toys, which is a fair criticism as well, then I would have more room to do them all in here. I've got to make some progress with these things and decide what's happening with them. But and for the moment, it's a necessary evil, and I do need to tidy up really bad. This has got out of control in here because I just rush around doing so many jobs. I'd like to get all the cars ready this month, by mid-month, and then have a bit of time, I keep saying this, to get around, tidy, organise everything, and crack on with the personal projects so they're usable. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is nib down this run I got here from being overzealous with the fade out spray. I sprayed it up here, but I just did it too much, and it kind of like some of it got in the middle here and started. So we're going to flat out and decide if it needs paint or not. So for that, what we're going to do is I'm just going to check with my nail first and see if it's still soft or whether it's hard. It's actually still quite soft. Look at my nail there. If I start doing that now, I might have problems. That might be left longer, actually, unfortunately. That's the trouble with using that was an all-in-one 1K, so that could actually end up taking a couple of days to harden off enough. That doesn't mean it couldn't go down for an MOT in between with the paintwork like that, because then I can obviously hit that paintwork when it comes back from MOT. So that's probably what I'll do. And if Phil can't fit me before, I'll clean the seats and then go down for MOT and then hit that. So let's get back to the i10 then and get this rear quarter masked up ready, so that when we are ready to paint, it's all ready to go. So I've got the colour on the rear quarter there. I'll sheet up when I'm doing the lacquer. That's the bit that's going to spread lots of paint around the place. Obviously sheeted the car next, so I didn't undo the work from yesterday. So got the colour on there. If I look, there might be a slight low spot. I did rush Davey off a bit yesterday, told him to stop because he needed to get off as well. But actually it's looking a lot better. I say might be being a little bit picky. There might be one little low spot there, but I think we'll be okay. The paint looks a little darker. Difficult to say till the lacquer's on, but it looks a little darker. So I've put 3 coats on, and then I put a dust coat from back here, dusted across there. It was great having Davey here yesterday because I got to ask him lots of stuff about the way I paint, and I'm pleased to say 9 times out of 10 he did similar things. He agreed with me on the way to go forward with things, so that was encouraging. On the front, I've sanded down the fiberglass, then put some plastic filler in and sanded that down. I do have a slightly high spot there and a slightly high spot there, but to be honest, I'm going to leave it. I can't be spending more hours sanding, filling for something that someone's probably never even going to look at. What we won't have is we won't have a crack. And obviously I've been sanding quite, rigorously on this and so forth, and there's been no flexing or breaking in that area at all. He says he's not going to do any more. I don't know. You just run your finger over and you can feel it slightly high there. But to be honest, the only way to fix that is either go very aggressively at the plastic or take filler to here to sort of bridge over that area. I think I will leave it as it is, because it will end up looking like a bit of a stone chip or something on the front end, and it's the end of the world on a car this age. And time is money. I have to decide how much time it's worth putting into these cars. This is probably a 2795 car, something like that. I obviously want it to look mint, like I said earlier, because it's got a lot of other good stuff going for it. But I don't even go crazy. I can't make a brand new car at £2,700, can I? Right, so I'll clean that, tidy that up. That'll get some filler primer on it, and then it will get colour on it. Once that's had the colour on it, put the sheeting over the rest of it, and then lacquer the two at the same time, because again, like I said, I'm using 2K lacquer, which will go off in the can. I mean, it will last for sort of like, if I use it the following day, it'll still be okay, but you might as well get it done all in one go. So we're now laying colour coats down on the repair on the front bumper there, ready for then sheeting up and lacquering that and the rear quarter. I've also brought in the the Volvo wing. I've scuffed all round the edges here with the scuff pad, red scuff pad, all the way around, because I'm then going to, I've got to mask that rubber off because that's actually glued to the wing. I've got to then colour all round those edges, and I can bolt it on the car, and then when Davey comes along, he just does the face of the wing, but when you open door shuts and stuff like that, we'll still have the correct colour there. So yeah, just another coat of colour on the Hyundai, probably 2 more coats of colour on the Hyundai, then it's ready for lacquer. So the Volvo wing now has the colour around the edges. You can see it's not massively different to the silver, which is why I selected, not when I couldn't get the same matching wing, a silver wing, because I knew the coverage would be better. So I've gone all around the edges of that. I mean, in here the colour match looks good, but obviously you don't know until you go against the car, do you? What I'm going to do now is lacquer those edges, because obviously I won't get a chance to get lacquer on them again. So sheet up the Hyundai and do all the lacquering in one go, and then that should be it for painting for today, because like I said, we can't do the 500 until those drips have hardened off properly. So you can probably see from the slight haze in the air, I finished lacquering. So that's the rear quarter. It is looking very dark to me. I'm a little worried about it, although I didn't put any paint there. My paint's there, but you can see it is dark, and obviously it's going to be against that door, but it is what it is. In terms of finish, that's the finish. We're using rattle cans again, 2K. So I think that should harden off fine, actually. I don't think I'm going to have to do anything to that. I think the finish looks good. Hard to tell because I haven't got the perfect light, but as you can see from my reflection, it's pretty good. Around the front, similar finish, although I did get a bit of a sag. Can't remember exactly where it was. Yeah, getting a little bit of a sag there. But nothing to do about it now. Let it harden off, and then we'll see if we can flood it back later on. But again, it might not be the end of the world because it's quite low down. Here, the darkness isn't going to matter because I didn't go panel to panel on anything. So this is the original paint over here. Again, reflection-wise, it's looking good. Yeah, so let it harden off. Like I always say, don't play around with it now. Nothing you can do about it. Just let it go off and see how it is once it's unmasked. Well, it is going to be what it is. I don't want to go painted into that door. Just needs to get down and get its MOT. So now I need to get the paperwork ready together for the Kia to go out for its delivery. And I can let the wing here go off now. And then that can go on the Volvo. So we've turned from a silver to that sort of greeny colour. There's only a slight bit of paint there, but like I say, once that's hard enough we can bolt that on, then we can fit the bumper back on again. I'm going to get the wiring loom from eBay for the washers and all that, because I'm pretty convinced that's what it is, because as you told me, it's got heaters as well on the Volvo for the windscreen, for the headlight washers. So I found a wiring loom for that, so I'll get the wiring loom for that, but I can still put everything on and get all the paint done while I'm waiting for the wiring loom, because it won't take a minute to whip that back off again. So fairly good progress today. Bit annoyed I couldn't finish off the Fiat 500 and obviously not had time to valet that, but I was up till 1:30 last night doing that, so I want to get home at a reasonable time today. Well guys, kudos to Marlowe's. All I've painted is the edges here, but the colour match is pretty good. So should I just go on and paint the rest of the panel? I was going to get the paint guy to do it, but should I just do the rest of it myself? Because there's my colour to colour. The rest of the panel's silver. I may as well just carry on and paint it myself, mightn't I? Advertised the Hyundai on Saturday afternoon after cleaning it. Had a message on Sunday saying can we come and see it first thing Monday morning. Someone came and saw it first thing Monday morning and it's sold. So I'm just nipping it down to Moore's to get its new MOT and get that emissions light sorted. Might be I have to put a catalytic converter on it, but it did go for $2,995, the asking price. So I do have enough margin in it to do that and still make a decent profit. And if it ends up not costing much at all to do the MOT, I'll probably do a little bit of a discount or a tank of fuel or something, because they're lovely people and I do recognise them. We had a little chat from when I was down at Alpha Agazza. They came to see a car then and missed it for their daughter because things sell quickly. So yeah, lovely people. And yeah, we'll get it down to Moore's and hopefully we don't have to put a cat on it, but if we do, we will. As I always say, at least then the money's not going in my pocket, it's going in your car. And that's one thing you're not going to have to potentially repair going forwards when maybe after the warranty had expired. So let's get it down there.